hour is here.
Check it out.
And you're locked on to Utah's highest rated, most listened to sports radio station.
It's my station. It's my station.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Let's make some donuts, shall we? Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Happy Thursday, everybody. How you doing, buddy?
Hashtag grinding.
Yes.
Getting up early, putting sports news together, staying up late, fighting through Olympic announcements, just grinding.
Grinding. The grind is real.
My Pioneer Day was just a grind. I felt like a pioneer on Pioneer Day, pushing through hardship.
Yep.
Only thing missing was the cart.
And the auction.
We had those through the parade, though. We did have a few of those.
Yeah, I was curious. How did the parade go?
It was absolutely tremendous. It was fantastic.
So am I going to get the real story off the air?
No, this is the real story. I had a blast. That is a great parade.
Oh, I mean, look, it's as good as it gets right there.
Great people involved. Yeah. The floats were exceptional. The clowns, you know, they're okay. They could.
Nobody goes to a parade for the clowns, though, do they?
Do they not anymore? I still look for them.
You talking about like the rodeo clowns?
No, they were the ones that ride around on unicycles
and
do, balloon animals. And they only had like two of those. I think, is America pushing clowns out?
I think we're kind of getting away from clowns. I think the whole It movies and TV series kind of like.
We're also getting away from rodeo clowns. I'll get into that here in a little bit, maybe. But the clowns, so-so.
Yeah, they didn't used to have like names like, hey, I'm so and so, but now, they used to just be rodeo clowns. But you saw the one at the rodeo.
What? No.
He's was just the one that was at the Days of 47 rodeo.
Yeah.
Like he's like an entertainer out there.
Yeah.
He's a big part of the podcast.
These guys make some money.
He was mediocre to me. Yeah, it wasn't so good. I'll talk about that because I do have opinions on that. Serious opinions.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
we got some house cleaning to do.
Well, yeah, but we need to talk about it because Lloyd's political email to us kind of put some stomp on it maybe. But I do have opinions about rodeo clowns and where we're at. So the other thing is the sponsorships and the people that put their time and effort into that parade, it's as good as it gets. It is some of the best people this country has to offer. It truly is. And they bring out the most amazing livestock, and they bring out their best representation and all the courts. You're putting these youth that are striving to actually be beacons in our communities. You're putting them on the floats and you're supporting them and praising them for whatever it is, their academic success or, the other things that you put into putting these courts together. I love it. I love the whole thing. It was an honor to announce it. It was an honor to stand there and say names and have some fun.
I'm going to put our guy here in a bad spot. Did you walk it?
Of course I did.
Oh, okay.
Did.
All right.
Yeah.
Because I didn't.
He did.
I didn't.
I did.
All right.
I represented, even though I got big timed by our guy who was emceeing. I came and gave him a good game pat on the side, and he just continued to talk about other people, and I was just like, okay, good to talk to you. What?
Wow.
What?
Hans, you care to rebuttal? We make this like a presidential debate here. Hans?
For the first time in your life, I want you to tell the truth.
The floor is yours.
One time in your life, tell the truth, Lloyd.
You did talk about putting K-Bank on your shoulders.
I said that K-Bank rode the parade last year on my shoulders.
Almost all the way past. By the way,
I thought that was kind of funny.
It is funny because
Okay, and let me tell you exactly how it happened.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So we got Lloyd's side.
First of all, Lloyd's coming down the walkway looking like the Unabomber. He's got his hoodie pulled over. He's got these glasses. Like, you can't even
It's like
tell.
105 degrees out there.
Yeah, he's got a hoodie pulled over his head, glasses, got a hat over the top of
he
it.
doesn't
So
wanna
we're
be-
talking about honesty today,
You
right?
couldn't even
We are talking about
tell.
honesty.
He doesn't want to be recognized. Doesn't want to be bothered.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You couldn't
okay.
tell. So, first person I see is Eubank, and you know why?
Oh, yeah,
Because
he's a man of the people.
Yes, he's running on the sidelines, and
Was it Tootsie Rolls again?
he's high-fiving.
What were you
and
handing out?
No candies.
No candy. No, there's no candy.
Are you not
47
allowed?
yeah, 47
Oh, you're not
got
allowed to
all
do candy. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And then the next person I see is Gebhardt, because Gebhardt is a big human being.
He's a big dude. People don't realize that dude could play a little left tackle.
He could. He's a big human being, probably
Yeah.
6'3"-ish, 6'4"-ish.
Yeah.
260.
Good frame.
Really, broad shoulders. I'm like, there's
He's not.
there's
Geppy.
Geppy.
He's not fat. He's just.
He's big.
big framed. Yeah.
So I'm like, there's Geppy. I'm like, hey, Kevin Eubank. Oh,
Geppy.
you have to
Geppy.
walk it this year because you rode it on my shoulders last year. It had some fun and the
Yeah,
crowd
yeah.
was laughing. I was like, oh, what's up, Gebhardt? Are we getting the truth? Am I approved? And having some fun and I'm paying attention to what I'm seeing. Apparently, Lloyd did hit me on the butt, and I
You did
didn't
get that confirmed by Mama.
Yeah, I did
Okay.
ask Amanda, and
All
she
right.
said, yes, Lloyd did smack you and smacked you pretty good. I saw Lloyd when he was about 50 feet past me.
All right.
And then I proceeded to talk about Lloyd Cole for a good minute. I said, that's the best producer in the radio business. Oh, look, my producer's too good to even come up and talk to me, because I didn't realize he hit me on the butt, because you must have hit me on the butt and then took off, because I
Well, I
never...
walked in front of you, in front of your
Looking
viewpoint.
like the Unabomber. But
I did not wear a
but-
hood. What are you talking about?
But then, Scotty, I did proceed to praise our producer, and I don't know why you didn't mention that. And I said,
Well, I mean,
want
that's an inconvenient part of the story for me.
it is, isn't it?
But the hooded sweatshirt is a convenient part of the story.
Doesn't fall into the narrative.
yeah, because you want to
Okay.
pay me as a bad guy.
Right.
But I was really excited to see you walking to the parade. So I loved you up. And then I did say, Lloyd Colt, the most important part of the KSL float.
Stop.
That's
Well,
what I said.
By the way, our guy killed it on emceeing it.
I did have fun.
Like he did. And I
had a blast.
shouted your praise. I shouted you out to
I
everybody.
appreciate
I'm like,
you.
Hands is killing. Because some people were just like, well, there goes so and so, and they're just reading the script.
Oh, man, I was having a
Our guy
blast.
ripped it, and he had a good time with it.
I was having a... So, okay, Scotty, everything went really well with names and,
Yeah.
and everything until we got to, I believe it was the consulate of Mexico, or it was some dignitary. And I went to read the name phonetically, and I think I just torched it, because the person that was driving the car turned back at me. So then I tried it again.
Oh,
But
yeah.
some of those names are
Oh,
really tough, and I didn't see that name when I pre-read. The script is 35 pages.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, look, you got every float. Everybody and their dog in their fifth ward has a float in that thing. So.
Yes, they do. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of pages, and there's a lot of information, and so I tried to hit the name, and it was not.
Well, I had some obligations, some family stuff, or I would have walked it with you, Lloyd.
I know you would have.
You got very important stuff.
Yeah,
Let's just put it that way.
But apparently people thought I was just there to take pictures of them. So
Okay, all right? You got to tell that story now.
Well, just think about the float
Yeah.
and who would be around it.
Oh, okay.
hey, can you take our picture? I'm like,
Wow. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I've got my logoed polo. I'm like, hey, I'm here.
For the full
Where are you guys? Hey,
for the full
hello.
6-mile walk.
Hey, take one more. Can you get us some video?
Oh, that's awkward.
Got to hold up here for a second, man.
Like, hey, who can take? Oh, he'll take our picture.
He'll take our picture.
Oh man, that's rough. Dude.
Who's the guy with the glasses and the hoodie? Grab him.
Could you stop
man,
with the
that's
hoodie?
funny.
Okay, be honest.
Okay,
Come on.
Okay,
Stop it.
Okay, if we're being fully honest, he didn't have a hoodie on, but he did have a hat, big brim hat, and it was
Yeah, he
pulled
had his own
low.
hat.
Okay, but it was pulled low with the big glasses.
Those hats run big too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just want to.
I may have looked like an undercover, maybe.
I want to give a shout out to Stephanie Avis
Yep.
and Luann because every event that we're a part of, it is always well organized.
Yeah.
Well, they had the script.
Oh, yeah. Those I's are dotted, T's are crossed. They don't mess around.
They had cold waters. They had a bus that took you instantly from where we, got our whole rundown over to where we broadcast. It was like they had shirts that matched, and they are very well organized.
Yeah.
It is a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, she did give me one of those shirts.
The Team US?
The Team USA shirt, yeah. Been nice. There's a Zone logo on the back. But yeah.
I didn't see that on there.
I didn't either.
I didn't see it under there. But it's still, it was extremely well run and a good time.
Yep.
Yeah, it would be nice.
It's just, a little love.
We do have a logo.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. Okay, so let's talk rodeo.
Yeah, the rodeo is
so there. Apparently, that was the good part of the day.
Yeah,
I sensed some issues with the rodeo.
well, no. Okay, so the day of 47 rodeo is the most well-oiled rodeo machine that I've ever been to. The most well-oiled.
Yeah.
It says we are losing grip of our rodeo clowns. Now, you remember, but I understand to a certain degree. I understand a couple of things. So back in our day, Scotty, when things weren't real well organized. So mine was the Snake River Stampede. That was mine. You went
Mine
to
is the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo.
Okay, so those were our big ones.
And sometimes the Eastern Idaho State Fair and sometimes the Twin Falls State Fair. I grew up at rodeos. And that's why I haven't been since, because when I got to 18, I'm like, I'm never going to a rodeo ever again. Because my summers were filled with at least 3 or 4 rodeos.
Okay, and we did 3. We did the Weezer, we did the Washington County Fair, and then we did the Snake River Stampede.
Yeah.
And at each of those rodeos, they just weren't well run. And there was a ton of downtime between events because you only had a certain amount of stall, you only had a certain amount of gate.
Yeah.
And so you had to reload, and you couldn't have one end for team roping and then move to the other end for bronc, bareback, then move back to the other end for breakaway. You had one gate, and it was like, oh. So the clowns back in the day,
they had a big responsibility.
They had to fill a lot of time, and they would fill the time with hilarity, bringing out their stupid little mini cars and driving out and having little friends and getting in barrels and rolling things and rubber chickens and noses that honk and
little stand-up comedy here and there.
And
current events.
Remember, the stand-up comedy was very blue, very controversial. It was very direct in one direction.
Oh yeah,
back in the day.
Oh yeah,
and even in this state, because I used to go to Strawberry Days and Lehigh Roundup, and I go to all kinds of rodeos here. And those clowns, the Lehigh clown was nuts. He was nuts, and he was full of jokes. And now it's a good thing, though, because we've pretty much eliminated the need for a rodeo clown because I'm there for the rodeo.
Yeah. All right. I want to see a dude get knocked off a bull.
But the clowns nowadays aren't really clowns. They're just, I will tell you, and I don't mean to throw my dad under the bus, because he's not the biggest rodeo guy. He supports my mom, who is the biggest rodeo fan that I've ever known. And so my dad brings his art equipment, and he just does art, while he draws. He's a landscape artist. So he draws and does landscaping while he's watching the rodeo. I don't know if he gets inspiration from whatever, but...
By the way, I got a story to tell you.
Okay.
During the break about your dad and his art.
Okay. So he is doing his art, and this clown for his one set starts some clapping session to music, which is just drives my dad nuts. So he wasn't clapping. Well, apparently I wasn't there because I was commissioned to go get a drink for my girls.
Right on.
As you know.
Yeah.
And
I'm thirsty.
Apparently the clown climbed up the grate and noticed my dad wasn't paying attention and got in his face and started clapping, like up in his face to get my dad to clap. And so my dad took his drawing pencil and put it in his mouth and started clapping because he doesn't want to push the envelope. But he wasn't paying attention to the clapping.
Yeah.
But apparently this clown came and got after him.
I'm surprised Clark didn't take that pencil and...
I know, man. When my mom was telling me the story, I'm like, oh, And he did what? He put the pencil in his mouth and he clapped. I was like,
when you said he put the pencil in, and I'm like,
oh,
where?
But the rodeo clown used to be a draw.
Yeah. Yep.
And now he was playing like he played like what's Billy Ray Cyrus's daughter?
Miley
Cyrus. He played some Miley Cyrus and was moving his hips to it. And it was like,
Is it because
dumb.
is it like a new generation, or they have to be more politically correct now? Or
Yes.
all of that?
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Because the last time that I saw a rodeo clown get loose was at the Lehigh Roundup. And he got loose. And then they let him loose. Because he wasn't back the following year.
Woo. Yeah. Yeah, no, the guy up at the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo, who's been doing it forever, they mic him up, and they let him just, I mean, he's like Holly Rowe. He has that open mic and can just talk whenever he wants, and just lets it fly. Whenever he wants, he just flips that sucker on
and rolls.
Now, I have not been to that fair for a while, so I don't know if he still is the guy, but some of the stuff he would say was like, and the thing is, anybody else would get in trouble. He's like the guy up in Burley. He's like the Charles Barkley of clowns. Up until, I think the last one I went to was like 3 or 4 years ago. He could say whatever he wants. You or I say anything like that, we're fired immediately. But he could say it because he was the clown.
Yeah. And they did, that's not.
And let's be honest, the audience is speaking to probably doesn't care either.
The paint no longer covers the face for these clowns, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, this is where we're at as a society. You go to an event to have a little bit of fun, and it's like, nope, I didn't have fun. I'm offended.
Yes.
And you're burning in hell.
And I want you never to draw a paycheck ever again.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah.
But I love the rodeo because the rodeo still does really institute a high level of patriotism. And I do love that.
Hey, there's nothing, honestly, and I love that you say that too, because when you have, and again, I've told you, like, I got dragged to so many rodeos. My dad was a county agent, so, I mean, we lived at that fairgrounds for, 2 weeks at a time. And, but there's that moment at the beginning where you got the rodeo queen, and she's got that flag planted, in that little stirrup, and just hauling up and down that. I mean, come on. Now then they turn on Lee Greenwood and they lose me at that point. But
no Lee Greenwood.
Yeah.
The whole night. In fact, they did a whole fireworks show with the drones. And Lloyd, you're right. That thing is pretty sweet. The drone and fireworks
it's pretty
combo.
Cool. The combo was, if it was just the drones, I'd be like, okay, I feel like something's missing. But when they had, because I thought at first they weren't going to have the fireworks, and all of a sudden they popped them on,
and it changed the gear.
There we go.
Have you seen a drone show yet?
Yes. In fact, there's a kid in my neighborhood who's part of a drone team that goes around the country. And the amount of work and effort and coordination.
Do you understand how the drones work? They don't have individual flyers.
No, each one of them has an individual flyer. He flies like they've got like a team of them, of people.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
because
and they do practices. In fact, there's a
synchronized.
There's a junior high outside of just about a half mile from our house, and they practice there. So at night we'll see these guys out there practicing
flying their things,
their drone shows.
Well, Scotty, all combined, just taking in Pioneer Day here in the state of Utah. And it's one of my favorite days.
Yeah.
I mean, I've on both sides of my family, I am just stacked full of Pioneer ancestry. And I'm very proud of them. Very proud of what they did and the sacrifice they made. So I love representing Pioneer Day. And it's quickly becoming one of my favorite days on holidays here in the state of Utah. And I went from a 6 a.m. start getting ready for that parade till 11:30 finish on that rodeo. And I will say our state kicks with Pioneer Day.
Oh, yeah.
And I love you for it.
We know how to do it right. We don't mess around.
I love you for it. And the day of 47, the day of the 47 rodeo is just a well-oiled machine. Rodeo clown aside, I don't even need them anymore. Look, if we're going to be able to press event to event, it's like, Scotty, when's the last time you went to day of 47?
I've never been.
Oh, my gosh.
I've never been to the day of 47 rodeo. Next year I'll go.
They open up 10 gates. Horses come flying. Yeah. They shut the gates. They give the medals. And next thing you know, here comes a girl lassoing on a breakaway. They run 10 of those. The 3 medals, as soon as those medals are awarded, open the gates. Here comes the mutton busting, the little kids that are absolutely adorable. And
did you do that growing up?
No.
I did it for about 4 straight years as a kid.
I was too chubby. I grew too fast.
I was too, but
it's too big and
that's
didn't stop me.
Advantage.
I'd have broken the mutton's back. It would have been literally mutton busted.
No, I think my dad sent me out there because he wanted to be like, you got to get in shape. Try chasing that thing around.
Literally mutton busted. We would have been had lamb chops because I'd have flattened the poor.
You break it, you buy it.
And then so you've got these events that are just popping as fast as you can pop them. And then it's the best livestock and it is the best athletes in the game.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking number 1 across the board.
I mean, the payouts.
All world champions.
The payouts are crazy for that thing.
It's $1 million payout.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's $1 million payout. So those cowboys and cowgirls are out there to make money. And you know what I loved last night? In almost every event, the standard was set in the first go. Like team roping, Scotty, was, let's see, what was team roping? 3.9 seconds.
Ooh.
Under 4 seconds, right out of the gates. And so every team after that, they're not like, oh, let's just get the job done. And you remember our old rodeos and that little thing runs around and you got somebody trying to set the trap for like 5 minutes and it's like, you're like, okay, get out of the arena. We've got the 3.9. These guys are like, screw it. Like, we're either going to get 3.9 or not. And they're breaking ropes and throwing these things as fast as they possibly can. The steer wrestling, the guy, I think it was a 3.7. Think about that. Broke the rope, had the steer on its back in 3.7 seconds.
And had it tied.
This was just the wrestling where they just upend him. Yeah. So just falling off your horse, grabbing it, and putting the steer on its back in 3.7 seconds. Best livestock, best athletes. And then my favorite part, the bulls won. The American Buck and Bull won last night. There were 3 dudes that rode.
Really?
And that was it.
Wow.
The rest of them were chucked into the gates and thrown into the sky.
The bulls were angry that day.
and stomped on. And
hey, and by the way, you and I, we are of the same belief that, like, I know, I'm trying to think the right way, because we know hunters. We love hunters. Mm-hmm. They're a big part. But we also, like, we're
more on the conservation side.
A little bit on the conservation side.
Yeah.
I will say this. For those out there that, because I run into people all the time and talk about rodeos and talk about the bulls and how poorly they treated, you would hope sometime in your life you're treated as well as these bulls are treated. These bulls are treated like royalty because all of these rodeo officials know that people are there to see the bulls.
That's it.
They're not really there to see the riders. They're there to see the bulls.
Yep.
And so these bulls are treated like gold.
Yep.
I mean, you hope that when you travel in the lap of luxury that these bulls do.
Same with the horses, the livestock. But I want people to understand that these bulls, the American bucking bull, is an individual breed.
Oh, yeah.
We built these bulls for rodeo. They put thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into these bulls. Because if you can produce a bull that a cowboy can't ride, you can make a lot of money.
Yep.
And so these bulls are well taken care of, and they show it, Scotty. These bulls walk around like, I know you can't do anything about it. Like, and I know you can't, and you can't. And they hate those little clowns. There was one bull that was so ticked off after he got the dude off his back, which was inside 2 seconds, and threw him into the gate. He went and hit that barrel thing up in the air with the clown in it.
Yeah.
And then the 2 rodeo clowns that are supposed to keep everybody healthy, they got in there. He grabbed one of them, chucked him, turned around at the other one like, I'm going to chuck you. Like, I'm going to chuck you, and then nobody's going to do anything in here about it. So that guy backs off, and the other clown comes over. And it's just, it's the best, man. Those bulls are the best. They're so full of life and just, they're 2,000 pounds. I still can't believe that somebody gets on there. We had a guy from Mount Pleasant that was competing. He's a nationally ranked rider. And
isn't like the number 1 guy in the country from Oakley?
Yes, you're right. So this guy gets on the bull in the chute, and he gets everything set and ready, and this bull in the chute throws his hind legs up, and this guy's face just goes right up against the irons. Just boom! And then he backed backwards, and the guy's head came over to the side, and the dude responsible for the guy hits the rope and pulls the rider off the bull in the chute, and that bull was like, I already won.
Yeah.
We don't even need to open the chutes.
There's nothing left to do here.
So the guy gets back on the bull, which is crazy. They open the chute, and the bull puts him off in under 1 second because he'd already won. He knew what he was doing in the chute.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to rile him up. I'm going to get him scared. When they open this thing, he's going to get off because I've done this 1 million times.
Yep.
It's fun, buddy.
I love it. Love it. Absolutely love it. All right, Hans and Scotty, 1226. It was a big day for the state of Utah yesterday, not just because of the days of 47. Yes, the Olympics are coming back. We'll break it all down next. Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, bro. You hear us every day with our crazy opinions.
Hey, what you doing?
Well, now it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
Your show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing.
She bangs.
Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz. Woo! Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. For the latest on the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, and Aggies, we've got you covered. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We knew it was happening. It was just a foregone conclusion. So we knew what was coming down the pipeline. Sorry, that's my bad. But yet it was still really cool, Hans, to see the announcement yesterday morning that Salt Lake City, once again, will be hosting the Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
2034, 22 years. Or no, 30. It'll be 32 years, excuse
32.
me. After the 2002 Olympics, they will be returning. So you got to wait 10 years. We'll be celebrating our 20th year together on the show.
Yeah. I do plan on being here.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, I do plan on being here. So
Financially, I have to be here.
You know, I'm wondering if, when we get there, Scotty, if we're just kind of like, hey, this is it. This is the big moment. Like, what do you do? How much bigger can it get than a Winter Olympics? You were on air?
Not here. I wasn't. I was still up in Logan. I was wrapping up my college years.
Oh, okay. But you were real close.
Oh yeah. I would come down. I still I was doing the just to get my foot in the door. I would come down on the weekends and produce Bees games or NFL games or whatever. So I was working technically, but just as a part-timer coming down and working board shifts just to try to keep my name out there for hopefully some full-time employment, which, by the way, for all you kids out there, just do whatever you can, man. Whatever sacrifices you can. Try to keep your foot in the door. Try to use every opportunity. Work for less. Work harder than everybody else. Because that's how you get ahead.
Yeah.
That's how you get opportunities.
That's very true.
Because I was making, $6 an hour or something like that. But anyway, it was during the Olympics, and it was fun. But I never, I wasn't able to go to any events or cover any events. I wasn't live at anything.
Sports radio was still kind of a baby in 2002.
It was honestly,
mainstream sports media.
Oh yeah, I think here locally, it was doing very, very well. Because you had John and Carl still playing. You had BYU and Utah still in the same conference and doing. BYU was. I guess it was still a ways removed from that 96 team, but, they were good. And so, yeah, I mean, sports radio did very well, was doing very well at that point.
Well, a couple of cool things about this, and it is tough for me to get excited about anything that's 10 years out. I'm just full disclosure.
Yeah.
I'm not, it's cool.
I hear you.
what's the world going to be here in 10 years? Let's get to that first.
Do we even have a world in 10 years?
Like I was looking up future schedules for BYU and Utah, and BYU plays Virginia Tech in 2033, and Utah plays Wisconsin in 2033. There's nothing scheduled for either in 2034. So it's out there a long ways. And there are some games scheduled past 2034, but for some reason BYU and Utah don't have anything. It's out there so long. But there are a couple of really cool things about this. Number one, Scotty, this is really cool. It'll be the first time the Winter Olympics are back in the country since the Winter Olympics here in Salt Lake City.
Wow, really? I guess, yeah.
That will be the only two times in the 2000s that the Winter Olympics has been here in the United States of America, and both times being played here in Salt Lake City. So this is how it went. After the 2002 Winter Olympics, it went to Italy, it went to Canada, it went to Russia, it went to South Korea, it went to China, which that China Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
It was such a dude. It's like you're ruining the Winter Olympics.
Taking the games to China.
Why is there a nuclear stack right behind my ski jump?
Yeah.
Jeez, that looks horrible. It's going to be in Italy in 2026. So
yeah.
2026. It'll be in France in 2030, and it'll return here to Utah in 2034 for the first time coming back to America since being in Utah in 2002. I think that's pretty amazing.
That's amazing. And it also goes to show you, number one, that everybody made a good impression in 2002. We've kept our facilities up to task.
Oh, yeah.
We use them. The last time I believe the Olympics were actually profitable was 2002.
Olympics.
What did I say?
Olympics?
Oh, Olympics, yeah.
And I'm saying summer. Winter.
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying
yeah. Oh, okay,
Olympics.
yeah. So, I mean, we did it right in 2002.
Yeah.
We did it right. And people notice. And, in fact, if we wanted to, we could have them in 2030. Governor came on and went through. I think you were on vacation when the governor came on, not the time that he had to leave in a hurry, but
did you keep him for 30 minutes?
We joked around about how we needed to.
What did he say? Did he say?
Oh, guys, no, I didn't. I wasn't in a hurry at all. It was fine.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. See ya.
I didn't notice that we went long. Yeah, okay. All right, Spencer. Anyway, but we purposely pushed it back to 2034 because I think the LA games are in 2028, and they didn't want to have United States games so close together because of all the sponsorship dollars would be used up for the 2028 games before 2030. So they wanted to space it out a few more years. But if we wanted to, we could have had it in 2030.
Well, okay, so you just talked about the venues. So these winter games will use 12 existing venues. So 12 venues that we've got. You know, the Park City Olympic, we got out in Murray, we got the Delta, we've got the Utah campus. Like we've got them. 12 different venues that are already in shape. Only 4 of them will need any upgrades. There's only one facility that needs to be built, and that's for the snowboard big air. That's it.
Yeah.
Other than that, we're locked and loaded. But somehow this is still going to cost us $4 billion. And that's, by the way, every time we do this, it's like, oh, it'll cost you $4 billion. And then the state and councils start coming out and they're like, well, it ended up at $8 billion because it was double the amount because we had to rebuild every road in the country.
It's like your home renovation project. You think it's going to be this number. Add another 40, 50, sometimes double it.
Well, it's true. And just to help people understand why, you go to facilitate these countries that'll be coming in, and then it's like, well, how much water do we need to push to that building? Oh, it's got to be 18,000 gallons per minute. Well, we're only rated for 6,000. All right, well, now we got to put 3 new water tanks up on the mountain. We're going to have to rip every bit of underground infrastructure out. We got to replace it with these massive water facilitators, and that's going to cost $850 million.
Well, okay, and let's be honest here. And let's just say it how it is. Whenever there's a big bill passed like a major, like that COVID bill that,
Yeah.
you go by and that book is 2,000 pages long because all these senators are like, hey, if you're going to pass this, I need, I'm the senator from Minnesota. I need Duluth to get new plumbing. Like everybody puts these little pork belly, these little rider stuff in there to not line their pockets per se, but line their constituents. And everybody wants to get something out of it.
Oh, yeah.
So that $4 billion, I mean, let's be honest, University of Utah is playing in a really nice stadium.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the Olympics in 2002.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, they are going to be the facility. They'll be the highlighted facility.
And that'll get a nice little fresh coat of paint, too.
Oh, for sure it will.
So everybody gets a little something out of it.
Here's just a couple of notes that I pulled from the release. University of Utah's campus is expected to double as the Olympic Village during the games.
Yeah.
The Delta Center will host the marquee sport, which is figure skating. Skiing events will all be held at Snow Basin.
Hockey going to E Center? I think that's where it was in 2002, wasn't it? Or in the Maverick Center?
Well, I'm sure hockey will go to.
I think they played some hockey in the Maverick Center.
Oh, did they really? I didn't know that. They played their Olympic events in the Maverick?
The hockey.
Maybe. Oh, I think you're right because I think there's a statue that commemorates it out there.
Yeah, I could be wrong.
Snowboarding events will all be in Park City. So that's how they're doing. I do want to mention, now this was a independent piece that I read that I took my notes from. It did say that of the $4 billion, 100% of it will be privately funded, pulling money from ticket revenue, domestic sponsorships, and an IOC contribution, which, both of those they're three very loose terms.
Yeah.
But the IOC contributions are the most loose.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think loose is a good way to describe the IOC.
Yeah. Fast and loose.
Yeah.
And so every time Utah gets in a bidding process with the Olympics, I'm always like, all right, you just start checking people's pockets.
Just
check people's pockets.
You say Utah, you can put anybody on that list.
Oh, anybody. Like L.A.
Yeah.
Okay, just to take this a little bit further because I thought it was interesting. L.A. is the first American Olympics since Utah.
Yeah.
In 2028.
2028, yeah.
It's the first time the Olympics will be back in the country.
Yeah.
Since 2002. So that tells you how big a 2034 announcement is. They don't come to America often.
I know.
I noticed, too, that there's all this hand-wringing and everybody's upset because, we would be able to host an Olympics, but, we've lost our temperatures and we've really had a significant snow decline. You know what? Your loss. Our gain. That's why Utah needs to be in one of those permanent Winter Olympic rotators that they've been talking about. Make this happen so we don't have to go through the bidding process, because the bidding process, I think, puts a lot of money in bad people's hands. So just take the bidding process out and make it a rotator where the communities can truly facilitate it, and we're not having to snowblow land with nuclear plants behind it and then saying, well, this is weird. We haven't had a winter this poor in a year. Yeah, we know. You don't have winters.
Here's the problem. As long as the people that are deciding where these Olympics go still keep their pockets lined, we're not going to that rotator.
I know. That's exactly what I thought. So there's people making a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
How bad do you want the Olympics? Really bad. How bad?
How bad? How bad do you really want it? It's how the game's played.
But I am
these
thrilled.
organizations like IOC and FIFA and some of these
Does the missus do a wonderful apple pie?
Yeah.
Nice.
It looks like our company won't need that contract after all.
It's a nice poll right there.
Warden.
All right, Hans and Scotty, 12:45. What you may have missed coming up next. Coming up in the 1 o'clock hour, Shehan Jeyarajah will join us. Hey, Steve Bartle's going to join us at 2:05. Nice. Good get, Lloyd.
Our newest
member of the staff. Well, no, not a well, he announced it.
It was tweeted.
I mean,
Scotty retweeted it. You retweet. Oh, what are you talking about? You're the boss of the what? And you retweet.
What are you talking about?
Can we not dance around?
Soon to be
August 1st, but we get a sneak preview of Steve Bartle coming up at 2:05. Hans and Scotty, this is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
3, 2, 1. It's the 10th annual Top 60 and 60. Get your college football fix every day at 1:30 as the Zone counts you down to the start of the 2024 season by listing off the top 60 players in the state of Utah as voted on by the local media and you, the fans. You'll also hear from the coaches as they talk about the players that will impact their season the most. It's the Top 60 and 60, weekdays at 1:30, presented by 5 Star Painting on your home of the best college football coverage in Utah. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Part of the show, every moment of every show is available in podcast form by searching Hans and Scotty on your favorite podcasting platform or online at KSLSports.com. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Good friend of the program, Shehan Jeyarajah, who's making the Media Day tours across the country. Got a chance. Did you chat with him at the Big 12 Media Day?
I didn't.
It was good to catch up with him. He's a good dude, man.
I saw him come up to you and was excited to meet you. He didn't come talk to me.
As everybody is excited to meet Scotty.
You should have seen him. Scott Gerard! He comes running over. He's like, hey, what's up? I'm sitting there like, I'll go over here. No, he seems like a good guy.
He's a really good dude.
It'll be fun to have him on.
So we'll chat with him at 1:05, but it's another edition of What You May. Oh, and Steve Bartle joins us coming up at 2:05.
So, Scotty, where are we at here with the Utah Jazz? They released Baisley and Lofton. Baisley, for those of you who don't know, 6 games last year, 8 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 23 minutes a game in those 8 games. Then Lofton jumped on the court for 4 games, and he was 14 points, 5 rebounds, 4.8 assists, and was a fan favorite for a minute.
Yeah.
And the Jazz were like, hey,
he's one of ours, man.
Both of you go.
He's probably a T-shirt under the jersey guy.
He is. He's a T-shirt under the jersey guy, and he was great in those 4 games, but he was a disappearing act in Summer League.
Yeah. Yep.
So if all I had to go on was what I saw in those 4 games and they let him go, I'd be like, what? Why? But I watched 3 of the summer games he played in, and I was like,
okay. All right.
I get it.
It makes sense now.
So now it's the rookie show.
Yeah.
That's who you got, is who you drafted. And I know Taylor Hendricks is still young from last year. He's got to play.
Yeah. But honestly, from your perspective and every Jazz fan's perspective, if you're going to lose games, wouldn't you rather lose it with the rookies that you've invested in as opposed to these 2 dudes?
Yes, 1,000%. And I don't want Kenny Lofton Jr. to accidentally go get me one.
I know, right? And not that he would anyway.
No. Maybe one where everybody else is asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
In a very inconsequential game.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Some random game against Washington on a December, and the dude goes for 28, and you're like,
look, Kenny,
what are you doing, man? Lose that game.
But I can understand what they're doing, but you're going to see Filipowski in the regular season.
Yep.
Maybe potentially heavy doses as the number 32 overall pick.
And So when I was doing the show with Locke back in the day, we came up with this Oreo cookie theory. And the more I think time has passed, this is 2010, 2011. I don't think it applies anymore. But there was a when you put that Oreo cookie at the end of your fork and you dip it in milk, there's that sweet spot where if you take it out too long, it doesn't, Oreo's still crunchy, doesn't have it. If you leave it too long, it falls off your fork, disintegrates into the milk, and it's a mess. Okay, it's like playing time for a rookie. There's that sweet spot where you get that rookie in there enough where he gets experience, but it doesn't make him crumble and fall apart. Well, guess what? I don't think that there's any crumble or fall apart now. And if one of these rookies does crumble and fall apart, then you're like, okay, we know that now. Let's get rid of him.
Yeah.
If Filipowski, if you throw him to the Wolves and he's not up for it mentally, okay, I'd rather know that now than 2 or 3 years from now.
Yeah.
So,
plus, if I can build him into a trading piece that helps me for my big game hunting,
100%,
then I want to do that. But if he's not, then I'm going to Kenny Lofton him.
I mean, the Jazz stuck with who was the guy that drove you nuts?
There's been.
Oh, who's the guy last year that just drove everybody nuts? Taylor Horton Tucker.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The Jazz stuck with Taylor Horton Tucker as long as they possibly could to try to get any kind of trade value out of him.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately for the Jazz, everybody else saw how the benefits of Taylor Horton Tucker. And so, and I know he's still in the league, but the Jazz started him for a long time.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, look, he's a starter. You sure you're not willing to part with a second rounder for an NBA starter? Come on, he's starting for us.
Yeah. And he was, doing his thing, but your point is well taken. They were trying to highlight him, and they're going to highlight these guys.
Yeah. And so if, maybe, now remember, Fontecchio was a guy they highlighted, and they were able to to get some value out of him.
Turned him into a second-round pick?
I can't remember, but way more than you ever would have imagined when you signed him.
Yeah.
So,
I do remember thinking, wow, they got what for Simone?
Yeah. So here's another situation where, you know what? Maybe you can parlay some of these guys into assets or help facilitate your big game hunt.
Bryce Sensabaugh, he'll be available for game one, right? He broke his finger for those of you that
he should be fine. I would imagine.
I think he had a surgical procedure to get it fixed. But let's say you've got Sensabaugh ready to go. You could have 6 guys on the court at one point or the other. 6 guys that are in their sophomore year or younger. 6.
How tough is this?
You could have 3 sophomore seasons putting a lot of time. You had 1 last year with Walker Kessler.
Yeah.
You could have 3 putting a lot of time on the court. That could be 3 sophomore slumps that you're like, geez, Key.
If you're Jordan Clarkson, if you're Larry Markin, and even if you're Walker Kessler, this has got to be tough.
Oh,
now Kessler doesn't have any room.
Pure hell.
Kessler doesn't have any room to talk. But Laurie and Jordan Clarkson certainly do.
What have you seen? Jordan will leave. Jordan will quit. He's not gonna, or he'll just keep doing his thing. I don't know what he's gonna. I don't know.
He's like, or he looks at it like more shots for me.
Could be. Well, look at that. I'm now averaging 28 points a game.
Yeah.
So I really don't care what you're doing.
My assist numbers are about to plummet.
What our outcome is. My numbers are good. Carlos Boozer.
Let it fly.
Time. Yeah, for sure we didn't advance in the playoffs, but I played well.
How many? You covered Boozer a little bit, didn't you?
Yeah.
How he'd just win or lose, man. He'd pour over that stat sheet in that locker room.
It was just about him.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, honestly, it's ridiculous. You miss. Anyways,
yeah,
did you read any of the rumors about what's going on with Golden State and Larry Markkinen?
There's still talks.
There's still a lot of rumors.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of smoke out there.
It's now become the number one question asked to me in public.
Yeah.
BYU football will be eventually. I mean, people
give it another week or two.
Yeah, but I actually had 2 people at the parade, 2 different individuals. Well, one guy was like, well, what do you do with Lowry? And I gave him my opinion. And then one guy that was like, well, why do they keep trying to trade Lowry? And I'm like, do you see the roster? Are you reading the room? Do you see kind of what the future is? Okay, well, why has Lowry not been traded? Well, because nobody's giving them what they want. If somebody comes to the Jazz with what the Jazz want, Lowry's gone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But the Jazz want a very large payload for Lowry, which is exactly what they should do, because the Jazz are going to have not just missing Lowry, they're going to have fan repercussion, because Lowry is a fan favorite right now.
Oh, yeah. Because they know that Markkanen wants to be here. And after all the hell you've put him through over the last 2 years with a team that looks good and then you dismantle it, then it looks good again, then you dismantle it again. And then you start this year with him, Clarkson, Kessler, and a bunch of rookies or second-year players, and yet he still wants to be here, and yet he'll still sign a big fat extension on August 6th, and yet you're still wanting to trade or willing to trade him. Fans don't like that, because fans here in Utah especially want guys who want to be here. And if you are a good player and you show the community that you want to be here, this fan base will run through a brick wall for you. They will absolutely run through a brick wall for you.
That's why the NHL is going to explode.
Oh, 1,000%.
Because those guys aren't going to talk. They're not going to complain. They don't. Every one of them will want to be here.
Yep.
And they will all show it. And you'll see the physicality on the ice, and you'll be like, those dudes are. And it doesn't matter. It's just going to match what the physicality is in the NHL.
Yep.
But you're going to be like, oh, those are my best friends. I love them. Because that's what they are.
Yeah.
The NBA has just become a bunch of crybabies that are demanding their way, and their bellies aren't full with $24 million.
No,
their bellies aren't full with $48 million. They want South Beach, baby.
They want, even guys in Chicago want to leave.
Even guys in Chicago are forcing trades.
Yes, don't think it's just Utah, but all right, 1 o'clock straight up. Hans and Scotty. Coming up, Shehan Jeyarajah will join us. We'll talk some football with him as camps are going to be opening up here next week. That's right, folks. College football, it's nearly here. Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're locked on to Hans Olsen and Scotty Cheer. That's
right. Yeah!
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Great catching up with this guy at Big 12 Media Day. Finally seeing him up close and in person. Shehan Jeyarajah, kind enough to hang out with us, making the tour all over the country. Shehan, you're hitting pretty much every media day out there. How's it been?
It's been good. It's been good. Yeah, definitely a busy couple of weeks. But, the fun thing for me is that it was my first time out in Vegas. That was fun. I got to meet a lot of folks over at the Mountain West for the very first time, which was also a great experience. And of course, the SEC was right in my backyard, so that doesn't hurt too bad.
So walk us through these media days. Which one is run the most professionally, in your opinion?
I love personally the way that the Big 12 is set up. And, look, if you want to talk about the most professionally, the SEC, they have that thing scheduled to a T. They keep their guys right on a schedule, but it also means there is no casual time. There's no opportunity to go and say hey to somebody that you know. There's no opportunity to have a side conversation with the coach. So it's very corporatized in that way. So, maybe that's what professional is. I really like the way that the Big 12 does it. They are very good about keeping guys on schedule, but there's just so much better access overall. You get great opportunities to go and just talk to people and get to know coaches and players. And, I think that also, the way that the SIDs do in terms of trying to get players in front of media, they do such a great job. So the Big 12, I would say, is my favorite one of these events, but again, it depends on what your definition of professional is.
Interesting. Yeah, we Pac-12 in terms of radio, Pac-12 always did it right because we got access to everybody. Big 12, boy, radio. I think they take care of the print guys. Boy, radio, we're scrambling to try to get people.
It's
on
terrible, Shehan.
But it was good seeing people out there. It was good seeing a lot of these coaches and players, and it was really interesting to see from a Big 12 perspective, Utah and BYU in the same conference once again. What's it going to take for you to get out here and catch that game in person this year?
Man, I really would love if both teams were good enough to make that excuse. I think the big thing, right, is a lot of this is just going to depend on what BYU is and what they can be. Of course, in the past couple of years, they've been a highly competitive team, won 10, 11 games not that long ago. But last year in the Big 12, it was a little bit of a reality check going 5-7. They decided to kind of double down on the roster that they had. And we'll see long term if that ends up being a good decision. But, it's definitely – again, it's a lot to put on internal improvement, certainly. And while I do think that BYU will be a much improved team this year, especially on the defensive side of the ball, the schedule is a lot harder. Like they could be improved and finish with a worse record overall. So that's what it would take. It would probably take BYU being nationally competitive, like I think that Utah is going to be. And unfortunately, don't know that we're going to get that opportunity.
So as you milled around there at Big 12 Media Day and you saw the voting process come through and you saw, 1 through 16 and how people think this thing's going to finish out, I sit back and I look to see what Arizona and Utah do in their first years in the Big 12 because people forget Arizona beat Oklahoma in that Alamo Bowl and they were able to compile 10 wins. And it might have been more if you were starting Fafita through the whole season. I don't know. But Delora had lost that one game to Mississippi State. Maybe they lose it. Maybe they don't. And Fafita's back and Arizona looks good. And we know where Utah is at. Is there a chance these two teams in their first year come in and make some real noise, maybe even finish 1 and 2?
Well, I think that Utah is in tremendous shape to have a chance to do that. They were my number 1 team in the preseason. They were number 1 in the preseason conference poll. I think that from my perspective, if they don't make the Big 12 title game, that would be a little bit of a disappointment. Now, look, I want to be clear. Like the top 6 teams to me in the conference are like just tiny gaps apart from each other. Like I think that when you look at Utah, Kansas State, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, and Arizona, any of those teams could almost finish in any order, and it might actually come down to tiebreakers at the end of the year just to figure out who goes to the Big 12 championship game. So I think that Utah, though, is right now at the head of that pack. Arizona is such a fascinating team. I think that they are becoming undervalued in the Big 12 heading into the year. 1, because a lot of people around the Big 12 don't know what Arizona is all about. 2, because of the coaching change, certainly. But, for me, my big question is going to be kind of along that front 7. They were so good there last year. They lost a couple of big-time players to the transfer portal, a couple following Johnny Nansen to Texas. And so my question is going to be, look, is it just going to be turnkey, right, especially in that defensive line rotation? Are they just going to be able to maintain and grow the way that we feel like they might have been able to do if their former coaching staff came back? Now, I was encouraged by talking to Brent Brennan, the new Arizona head coach at Media Days, and he was very clear, like, I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to try to change everything or try to really mess with the team culture because it's such a family atmosphere. It's such a good team culture. They had so much success doing what they were doing. So I think that Arizona just has a few more moving pieces. But if you told me at the end of the year that Utah and Arizona are number 1 and number 2 in the Big 12, it wouldn't shock me all that much.
Shehan Jeyarajah, kind enough to join us, college football writer right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, one of the best when it comes to breaking down the sport. Let's go to the intrigue that is Florida State and Clemson. Obviously, they're dead set on leaving that conference. It appears that they're stuck for the meantime. But what's the atmosphere in that conference with teams that desperately want to leave but can't leave, and yet have not made any they've made their intentions known? Just how weird is that situation in that ACC?
Well, it's strange, certainly. And, when you think back to the past couple of years, the slight comparison you can make is when Texas and Oklahoma had announced their intention to leave the Big 12 for the SEC, but nobody really knew when it was going to be. The difference is that was 3 or 4 years before the contract is up. The ACC situation, we're talking about 12 years before the contract is up. And it's one thing for Texas and Oklahoma to negotiate and get out a year early, and it's very different, of course, for them for a school like Florida State to try to get out of a decade's worth of contracts. So it's a complicated situation to be in. Certainly, it's an awkward situation when you look around the league. We've heard some talk, and look, the ACC contract at this moment isn't public. There's been some people suing to try to make more of it public, especially their relationship with ESPN. The word is that ESPN has potentially the right to renegotiate their contract in a couple of years if they want. Now, the reality is, right, I mean, at this point, the whole point is that Florida State and Clemson want to end up in a situation where they're making more television dollars. Will, for example, ESPN want to pay more per school, right? Will they want to pay them $75 million to be part of the SEC instead of $35 million to be part of the ACC? I think that's going to be a huge dynamic to keep an eye on in the coming years, especially. But you kind of mentioned it. They have to let the ACC know by August 15th if they plan to leave by the 2025 season, and they aren't likely to do so. It's coming up, of course. So this is probably going to be a situation that stretches for several more years at minimum. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I think that when you look, and just even to take this back a little bit, when you look at the SEC and the place that they hold in college football and the strength of not just one of their teams, but all of their teams, so much of that was, hey, we're going to elevate this entire conference and we're going to say none of these teams is lesser than any other team. This is exactly the opposite, where Florida State and Clemson, and certainly some other schools are going to be in that conversation, are saying we feel like we are different, that we deserve more, that these other teams aren't worth as much as we are. And for every other team in that conference, I don't think that's a palatable situation.
Hey, Shehan, I want you to draw the next 3-year future for Oregon State and Washington State, and tell me how this all works out.
Well, I'll tell you what, I felt better about this answer maybe a month or two ago, but I think it's getting a little murkier. But the answer that I think I'll still commit to is saying, look, they're going to do this year, right? The reason that the quote-unquote Pac-2 exists is because there are existing television contracts or existing contracts, not television, with the Pac-12 that these schools will be able to be a part of. Most notably among them is the college football playoff contract, right? So, like, a lot of those payouts are going to go directly to Oregon State and Washington State instead of either dissipating and disbanding, like what certainly some of the old Pac-12 schools might have been more comfortable with, or any other situation. So I do think that for the next year or two, it's very likely that Oregon State and Washington State exist as this weird pseudo-independence with a scheduling partnership with the Mountain West that they have the right to opt back into for the 2025 season. And then I think that the most likely scenario is that then they go and join the Mountain West, that's just kind of the long-term scenario. Now, my colleague Dennis Dodd did some reporting over the past couple of weeks, and what it sounds like is that some of the relationship between these two schools and the Mountain West has soured a little bit. Now, part of that is probably negotiating, right? I think that the Mountain West is kind of like, we don't know that we want to be used long term while you guys try to make your money and then just jump in and kind of act bigger than the league. So I think that in the end, it probably won't matter. But I do think that Oregon State and Washington State have to be a little careful that they show themselves as people willing to be team players whenever they do try to join a conference long term. So I do think that long term they end up in 2 or 3 years in the Mountain West, but potentially more moving pieces than it felt like there were a month ago.
Shehan Jeyarajah joining us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. There's a kind of a, in talking to people at that Big 12 Media Day, and I don't know if it's the Deion Sanders effect. I don't know if it's just that, there's so much flash with that program and not a lot of substance that when we're away from watching actual games and we have a summer of hype that maybe we buy into it a little bit. But I got a vibe from some people out there that hey, Colorado may not be as bad as we think they will be. And I'm like, no, they're going to be bad. They're going to be bad. Where are you at on Colorado? Because there's a couple of talking heads out there that I kind of have some respect for. They're coming around and thinking, hey, Colorado may not be awful this year. Where are you at on them?
Well, I do think they're going to be improved from their 4-8 last year. How much improved is going to be a little up in the air. The Vegas line for them is at 5.5, and frankly, I think that's kind of the perfect line. I think they're going to be right on that 5-6 line, especially when you look at their schedule. I think that you can make a case that their schedule isn't quite as hard this year as it was last year, but it's pretty dang hard. Like in the non-conference slate, they played North Dakota State in the opener, and I want to be clear, like this is not maybe 2017 North Dakota State. It's a very, very good team, but it's not the giant killer that it's been in years past. They go to Nebraska in the non-conference, which I think that's a much more difficult game than it was last season. They play at Colorado State. Of course, people are going to be jumping for that game. I was at Mountain West Media Days, and Jay Norvell, the Colorado State coach, was trying to not say as much as possible to not cause a scene like he did last year. But, again, then you look down the back half of the schedule as well. Versus Kansas State, at Arizona, versus Cincinnati, that's hopefully a winnable game. At Texas Tech versus Utah, at Kansas versus Oklahoma State. Like, there's a chance that they only win one game in the last 6 of their schedule just because of how brutal it is. But I will say this, too. I don't know how I feel about their offensive line situation after replacing all 5 starters, but I do feel like they're going to be potentially pretty good on the defensive line. That might actually be the strongest aspect of their entire team in 2024 with some of the transfers they brought in. They brought in 2 guys from Pitt who are big-time contributors. They brought in Ryan Buell, a transfer from Ohio, who is one of the best players in the MAC. They brought in Chidozie Nwanku, who was a multi-year starter for Houston. It's not the fact that they brought in a few good pieces. It's that they brought in like 6 or 7 guys who have a chance to contribute on the defensive line. So I think that is something that gives them a different kind of floor than they had last year when teams could kind of just run right through them, frankly, and easily put up offense. So I do think that aspect will be better. But overall, again, like they're going to end up in some games where their offensive line is just not going to communicate well and not be able to hang. I think that their skill position talent maybe took a slight step back from last year after especially losing all of their running backs to the portal. So, again, this is such a hard team to really evaluate. I think that if they could find a way to get to 6, they should consider that a great season, and they're going to be right on that 5-6 line, in my view.
So Scotty and I were trying to figure out how to implement this in our show today, and I thought it'd be great to kind of get your thoughts on this because you covered Big Ten Media Days, and everybody's asking the question, what happened with Deshaun Foster? I'm going to play 40 seconds of sound here from Deshaun Foster, and then I want to get your thoughts on what the reaction was from the media and how something like this really went down. Here's Deshaun Foster, the head coach of UCLA.
UCLA in the Big Ten. We're a school that's won, 123 championships, so this fits us being right in this conference. Football-wise, we're just excited. I'm sure you guys don't know too much about UCLA, but our football program, but we're in LA. It's us and USC. I'm just basically excited, really. That's it.
It's your head coach, everybody, right there.
So tell me, what do we make of this? What exactly happened here?
Yeah, so, and just for the listeners at home, your radio didn't go out. That's just what it was like.
Yep.
So look, I think that I don't think Deshaun Foster quite knew what he was maybe supposed to have more of an opening statement prepared. And by the way, I mean, look, it's a kind of strange situation for him not to understand that. I also will say, UCLA, your athletic department, your SIDs, you got to have them a little more, I think, prepared than that. And look, the Big Ten, you don't have to go with a giant opening statement. Like at SEC, you have some of these 15-minute opening statements that, people basically monologue for a while. You don't have to do that at the Big Ten. You could frankly just open it up for questions almost right from the beginning after just saying, hey, we're happy to be here, and we're excited to be a part of this conference. So, look, so some of my colleagues, Brendan Marcello, among them over at 247 Sports, kind of followed up with him after. And he's just like, look, I don't know. This isn't necessarily my favorite part of the job in some ways, right? I'm not somebody, one of the quotes he said is, I'm just not a rah-rah guy. You don't get any points for being rah-rah, but I played football. And so, but I think that you have to be better prepared for this moment if you're Deshaun Foster. And so it's a strange one. It's one that certainly if things go wrong this season, people are going to point back at that. And I will just point a little bit, too, to the situation that led to him being the head coach there, right? Chip Kelly left in February, well after, the hiring cycle should have been over. And Deshaun Foster is an alum, a former running back there. He was a running back coach. He was an assistant head coach. He has left to join, I believe, an NFL team, but then came back to be the head coach. So, in some ways, I think that Deshaun Foster hasn't been put in much of a position to succeed, not just with this, but kind of in general in 2024 at UCLA. But certainly not the way that you want to introduce yourself to the Big Ten.
All right, final question. If Oregon wins year number 1 in the Big Ten, how surprised are you?
Not surprised. I think that Ohio State is definitely the favorite. They should be the team that wins the Big Ten, but Oregon is right there with them. For all the conversation that we had about the retentions and the transfers that Ohio State had this offseason, Oregon was all of that and arguably more. They had the number 2 transfer class in the nation this offseason, headlined by wide receiver Evan Stewart and quarterback Dylan Gabriel. We know what this team has been on the defensive side of the ball. We know what their offensive coordinator, Will Stein, has been for this program over the last 2 years. They're just, just frankly, they're a team that's stacked at every position group. They have the ability to win games essentially any way that you can possibly win football games. It's kind of unbelievable what they've been able to build in such short order there. And I think the other thing too is, you just look at the staff, you look at the way that they've been able to develop players and put guys in the NFL. They're right there with anybody right now in college football. So certainly Ohio State is my pick, but I think that Oregon is not just an easy number 2, but is an overwhelming number 2 right now in the Big Ten.
Shehan, you're the best, man. We've kept you way too long. Thanks for hanging out with us, and look forward to catching up with you again as we get into camp and get a little closer to the start of the season.
Thank you so much for having me.
Shehan Jeyarajah, everybody. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. National college football writer, CBS Sports. That
bonkers.
So did you? Who sent that to the group? Was it you or Lloyd? Lloyd. I watched that. I was like, this can't be real because there's a lot of fake stuff now. People are using AI to really generate some really weird fake news conferences, and it's just like, this can't be real. This can't be real.
Yeah, and I didn't think it was, but then you just pull up any of your sports sites.
Yeah.
And it's full stories in the same sound. And then you're like, that's real. We're a school in L.A.
Yeah. You may not have heard with USC.
Us and USC.
Woo. Just really excited. Oh, boy. All right.
What do you do if you're the athletic director? Are you like, is this an indicator of his overall ability? Or do you just look at him like, I don't care about that? But the crazy thing is, most successful head coaches can step in front of a mic. And I Bill Belichick is going to...
But Bill could. That's his choice.
Bill could step in front of a mic and he could give you a 35-minute dissertation on X, Y, and Z.
I'm sure you guys don't know too much about UCLA, but our football program, but we're in LA.
Thank you, Coach. UCLA is in LA. Oh, I thought it was Louisiana. I thought it was like the abbreviation. No, we're in Los Angeles. All right.
And Shehan's right. He could have just said,
it's us and USC.
And then he could have gone, questions?
Questions.
Just Bell. Bell just get some questions.
So, Coach, just to reiterate, what city are you guys from again? That's Los Angeles. Oh, okay. All right. Just double checking. All right, 129. Another announcement, our top 60 and 60 coming up next. Good, bad, the ugly. And then Steve Bartle joins us at 2:05 right here on The Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present?
This is JJ and Alex.
The only place I like to drink ginger ale is on an airplane. Isn't that the truth? Give me the ginger ale.
For some reason on a plane, it's like, ooh, ginger ale sounds great now.
Give me a ginger ale. Also, when you come back through, could you give me the Bloody Mary mix? Not a Bloody Mary. Give me the mix.
What do you do with the mix?
You just drink it because it's basically like spicy V8.
Oh.
I want to talk to a stranger with bad breath on the plane.
I don't have time to dive into why you like spicy V8.
I'm telling you, because it's
something's wrong with
low
you.
in sodium.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Looking for the latest on the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, and Aggies? Yeah! We've got you covered. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the Sports Zone.
Man, we are just blowing through the top 60 and 60. We are on a collision course to the start of the college football season. It will be here before you know it, folks. Could not be more fired up. All right. So with that, Hans, we got number 27. This is an interesting one. Let's get to it. Here is today's selection.
This is the top 60 and 60. As the Zone counts you down to the start of the 2024 college football season. And now, it's time for today's selection, as voted on by the local sports media and you, the fans. Injuries derailed this next selection's ability to help the Cougar defense in 2023. But now that he's back and healthy, he's expected to pick up right where he left off 2 years ago, when he was second on the team in total tackles. At number 27 from Brigham Young University, 5'10", 195-pound safety, Micah Harper. Brigham Young University head coach Kalani Sitake.
Micah Harper is healthy, ready to roll, great instincts, has tons of experience. He could play corner, he could play nickel, he can play strong safety and free safety. So we can move in a lot of different places. He's great at blitzing. He can stop the run. Great in coverage. Great ball skills. Super, super smart. Loves BYU. And we're really excited to see him play this year.
This is the top 60 and 60, presented by 5 Star Painting on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, there you go, folks. Micah Harper coming in at number 27. Remember, top 60 and 60 brought to you by 5 Star Painting. Refresh the inside or outside of your home with a 5-star experience. With 5 Star Painting, they got the time, skills, and tools. 5starpainting.com. That's 5starpainting.com.
There's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, how could he be ranked in the top 30 when he didn't play last year? And just a heads up to everybody, we've got plenty of players that are ranked in the top 20 that didn't play a single snap last year. So that's one thing. The second thing is he projects extremely well.
Yes.
I don't know what the recovery will look like, and you never know exactly how a guy's going to return from a significant knee injury. But if you take a look at his 2022 season, he was just priming the pump. 65 tackles. He ended up with 2 forced fumbles. He had 10 passes defensed. He had multiple big moments, big plays where when you needed that big shot, he'd get the big shot and separate the receiver from the ball. He was just awesome. And he's a missile, and he's tough, and he's everything that you needed last year in your first year in the Big 12. And you
didn't have it.
you lost him.
Yeah.
And it was that if I remember right, it was that very first scrimmage of fall camp.
Yeah.
And it was
early.
It was early. It was like that. And they had penciled him and Malik Moore to be your starting safeties. Malik ended up not doing anything that you needed. And then you lost Talon Alfrey, and then you started getting into some depth of walk-ons. And I am not going after those guys because I think some of these dudes like Wakely and others, they filled in as honorably as they could in those moments at that level of play. But you missed Micah Harper.
Yeah.
And I know that they're thrilled to have him back, and I think that this is an okay placement. I think it's all right.
I agree. And but I also believe that if he stays healthy and projects the way he should, this guy could very easily be part of our top 25 re-rank at the end of the year.
Should be. I think he should be one of your top. If the knee is okay and the recovery's gone well, he should be top. I would say top 3 in tackles, in total tackles.
Yeah.
He should be top 3 amongst all defenders in the state.
In the state, not just BYU.
In total tackles.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know where that puts him in terms of the top 25 re-rank. It depends on how impactful those tackles were, how many were TFLs, how many of them came with a forced fumble, or how many interceptions. He hasn't been able to really produce any interceptions, so maybe he shows that. Maybe he shows that he can be used in Jay Hill's blitzing packages, because Jay does like to institute safety blitz.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe he becomes a missile and a quarterback seeker, and he could work his way into the top 15. And there's going to be some people that argue he should be in the top 25 of the top 60 and 60. I'm okay with 27.
Yeah.
I think it's right.
I think so. I think it's a good starting point and certainly can go up a lot higher from there. All right, let's get to it. Good, the bad, the ugly. Let's kick it off right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to saddle up and talk about the winners and the losers. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, here's the good.
Hans, this made me think of you a little bit. The details have come out with Texas spending its first day, its celebration day in the SEC. Now, you were part of the festivities last year when BYU, on that July 1 or June 30th, whatever it was, when they officially went into the Big 12. You know, Greg stole the mic from you and
Alema.
Or no, it was Alema that went and stuff.
Alema.
Yeah. But that was a party. You guys had a good time down there.
Yeah, I want to say 8,000, 10,000 people showed up for that.
Well, the University of Texas estimated that they had 75,000 people who showed up to their welcome to the SEC party, and the University of Texas spent $2.3 million on an on-campus party to celebrate its entrance into the SEC. Guess where?
How do you even spend that amount?
Oh, just wait. Guess where 600,000 of that went to?
Guest speaker?
Guest performer, our guy, Pitbull was there.
No way.
They dropped 600 GER on Pitbull to help celebrate.
To bring the party to Austin, Texas. I guarantee you Sarkisian made that decision. I guarantee you. That's Steve Sarkisian. He's like, give me Pitbull or don't give me.
Let's see here. The event also, they spent $86,000 on lighting. They spent $16,000 on street closures. For security, $35,000. Marketing expenses, $35,000. Let's see. Yeah, they had the whole detail. So yeah, they know how to throw a party in Austin, Texas.
Well,
for a one-day party.
That makes me a little...
$2.3 million.
Makes me a little jealous.
There was a live music, a parade, interactive games. You had photo opportunities with Bevo. Who doesn't want their picture taken with Bebo?
Makes me a lot jealous. All right. Look.
You probably had James the Rapper there. Or James the Mormon, or whatever his name is.
Alema and Spencer, and Spencer and Linton, the way they hosted it was great. It was good.
He's so condescending.
It was. No, it was good. And, Tom Homo got the mic, and, he was excited, and, and the crowd was. But
now Pitbull.
If Pitbull rolls from behind the curtain, it's going to be like that scene from Old School when Speaker Town brings in Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
And Mitch turns to him and goes, "You got Snoop Dogg?" And he's like, "I don't own 18 locations and worth $28 million to bring in." I can't remember who he suggested. He goes, "Of course it's Snoop Dogg." Like, if you're a kid on, well, maybe Pitbull isn't that level. Who's this?
This is Pitbull.
Oh,
I figured.
Oh no, that's not Pitbull on the intro. Pitbull comes in.
Give it a second here.
Yeah, here comes Pitbull. It's still not Pitbull.
Yeah, this is pretty trashy.
Jeez, go back to the old one you had.
Yeah.
That was the party. Yeah,
there we go.
This is the party.
See, Pitbull just needs to have this on repeat over and over and over again.
Oh, could you imagine?
And when he tries to go to another song, you go, no.
Pitt. Mr. Bull, no, we don't do this.
I could just picture Pitbull coming out from behind the curtains on that BYU campus and slamming two Miller Lights together above his head, and just pouring them down his throat. Let's go! And the whole base being like, "What are we doing? What are we doing?"
I did.
Well, that's a party. If you bring Pitbull, you're bringing a party.
I almost went there. I didn't, though.
Where?
Hey, never mind.
Nada. Nothing.
You know what you're doing to me.
You know what you
I don't. I'm not doing nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to bring the party. They brought Pitbull in.
What are you doing? All right, 145. There's the good. Let's get to the bad.
Now the bad.
Well, Hans, we talked about it on Tuesday. The NBA said, "Thanks for your offer, TNT, but we're not going with you."
Yeah, so this thing's getting really interesting. So that means that this upcoming season is the last with TNT, and I'm sure that they're going to make it the farewell tour. And we're probably going to get too much of a belly full of 30-plus years or whatever it's been since the 80s at some point that TNT's had it. And don't you think they're going to overdo it?
Because everybody does it. Or,
this is interesting because now TNT is starting to dig their heels in. They're saying that they're going to take appropriate actions after the league grossly misinterpreted our contractual rights. We have matched the Amazon offer as we have a contractual right to do so, and we do not believe that the NBA can reject our match. So, Scotty, TNT is doubling down and saying, "Oh, not so fast."
Yeah.
But you know how things go when you force a relationship.
Yeah, it doesn't go very well.
And you know how things go when you force out of a relationship, but you got to live together for a year.
Yeah, that doesn't go very well.
So regardless of how this ends up, where TNT's like, "Nope, sorry, we matched, you have to stay." If that is in the contractual rights, the NBA should be ashamed.
Well, the NBA's a massive entity. And they've got a lot of lawyers.
Much bigger than TNT.
Yes. So I got to imagine that they know what they can and cannot get away with.
But isn't that weird that TNT would release that type of statement?
Well, it just seems like TNT just drug their heels on too long getting this done. There may have been a date or something that they missed.
Okay, but does this not all go back to the comment when TNT was like, "We'll be all right without the NBA"?
Yeah.
I think this is all contrived from that. I think Adam Silver was like, "So you think you're going to hold on with Funny Family Videos and Dawson Creek reruns? Because that's all you got if you ain't got us. If you don't got live sports, you got nothing.
Yeah.
So you want to recant that? You want to release an apology? You're going to let anybody whisper that from your lips? Because they're the only thing that's carrying TNT.
Yeah.
TNT will become a nothing nobody. It's the snap of a finger without the NBA.
You'll go and watch them during March during NCAA tournament, and that's it.
And that's all.
Yeah.
So they're in scramble mode, and I think that this is a panic mode comment. And now I just feel like you've got a divorced couple that's being forced to live in a Rambler floor plan.
Yeah. Not even an upstairs, downstairs.
No, it's not a split level. It's a Rambler.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to use the same kitchen. And it's going to be really awkward.
Yeah. By the way, the first house we bought, we were buying it from this woman who was going through a really ugly divorce. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, there were 2 bedrooms in that house because the guy who cheated on her, the husband, was still living there.
Oh.
And
so who did you answer to with the
both of them? We had to work through both of them, but differently, and they wouldn't work together at the same time. So we had to negotiate through the 2 of them while they would then have their lawyers talk to each other on trying to settle the price. It was a real
how quickly did you pick the target that you felt like you could get the better deal from?
It was the guy. It was not the woman.
Oh,
surprisingly.
So then you just
and
cut her out of the picture.
Well, yeah, we kind of had to go through her.
Really?
And she slowed it down because she wanted more money. He just wanted to be done. He wanted out. He had his side piece, and he was.
Oh, he did the cheating.
He was ready to move on with.
He needed his cash
with his younger version.
Oh,
because we got all those details from her. It was an interesting situation.
Oh, real estate stories.
Whew.
Could go on for
hours.
I
think we did get the better end of that deal because of it. Not that I want to profit off some broken marriage, but we may have profited off a broken marriage.
The person that bought one of my old houses years and years ago split up the marriage of our neighbor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. The tales that we could tell on real estate.
Ooh.
Yeah, the person bought it, came in, caught a fancy to the neighbor, and anyways.
Look what you did.
This was back in Idaho. And so I got a call. Hey, what do you know about this buyer? It's like, not a thing.
Not a thing. They gave us an offer. We accepted it, and that's it.
And it sounds like your husband accepted the other offer.
Oh. Ew.
Bad deal.
Hans and Scotty. A whole world news coming up next right here on The Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Other news coming out today from the IOC. Esports has been welcomed in.
Oh, what a joke. Stop it.
It's a skill.
I don't need to see Super Mario Brothers in them. The Olympics is supposed to be the traditional sports, original Olympians out there throwing rocks around and stuff.
I've got a list here, courtesy of our friends at Wikipedia, for discontinued sports at the Summer Olympics.
Isn't it like baseball? Didn't they get rid of baseball, but we've got breakdancing? I'm sorry. Anyway.
There used to be an arts competition. They got rid of bowling. We should bring bowling back.
That's better than esports.
It is better than esports. Chess at 2000 Olympics. Tug of war.
No.
Pigeon racing. You don't want pigeon racing.
No.
There was something called life saving.
What?
I would hate to be the guy who got the bronze medal at the life saving. What happened? The guy died?
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Go! It's time to span the globe for the hard-hitting news you care about. Well, not really. But hey, at least we found it interesting. This is Whole World News on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
We've got the whole world in our hands.
You got the whole world in our hands. We've got the whole world in our hands. We've got the whole world in our hands. We've got the whole world in our hands. You got you and me, brother, in our hands. You've got you
Hans Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time for another edition of Whole World News. I don't know how well this is going to translate to radio because there's some crazy video out here that I can't wait to show you. So you got two people walking down the street in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and all of a sudden there is a nasty car crash that happens right next to them. A car ends up flipping over the top of them, but it is slowed down slightly, which probably saved their lives. And it was because somebody in Milwaukee, even though nobody uses it, it wasn't active, didn't take down a payphone. When's the last time you ever used a payphone? Even remember?
Yeah.
The only time I'd use them is if I needed an address. I'd go in the phone book and I'd find an address and rip the page out. So I'd have the address.
That had to have been a long time ago because now you have a phone.
I know, exactly, right?
The last time I used a payphone was somewhere around my junior year in college.
Yeah.
I had a little prepaid card that I could use.
So here's the car crash, okay? I'm going to slow this down for you again. I know this is great radio. You got two people here. Now, I don't know who's to blame here. I don't see the light. This black vehicle's making a left-hand turn. The white vehicle is coming straight. And here is your payphone right here. And I'll tweet out a link so people can see what we're talking about here. But this payphone, authorities believe, slowed things down just enough to save these two people's lives because they would have been T-boned pretty good had that payphone not existed. Oh, my gosh. Now, they still took a nasty hit.
Those people lived?
They lived. In fact, they were taken to the hospital, but were treated and immediately released.
The car plows through the payphone. Like, the payphone went down.
Oh, yeah.
But it definitely slowed it down.
But
I would say that there's probably evidence that would save your life where that payphone is standing.
Now, that payphone no longer exists.
I bet that payphone has not been used in 10 years.
I know. And fortunately, somebody's lazy or too cheap to get it removed. But it may have just saved two people's lives. Imagine all you're doing, you're just walking there, and you're not even in traffic. Yeah, you're just on a sidewalk, and bam!
It's such a random
worst place, wrong time.
But not time to go.
Nope.
Because somebody left a payphone.
Here's the thing. According to authorities, the two individuals are just fine. They had a few scratches, scraped their knees, but they are fine. Thank God that they were able to walk away from that.
Milwaukee,
Wisconsin. Milwaukee.
Is that the home of Laverne and Shirley?
I believe so, yes. I never watched Laverne and Shirley.
You know,
I could see you watching that with eating some 3-bean casserole with why am I spacing their names?
That would have been the time.
And Dolores?
And Dolores.
Oh, that's right.
That would have been the time. My dad made a Three Stooges reference to Ashlyn, my 22-year-old, and she didn't get it. She has a friend named Mo.
Oh, yeah?
And so my dad's really sharp, and he goes, she hang out with Larry and Curly?
Right over her head,
like, what?
Talking about?
Who's Larry and Curly?
Oh, boy.
I'm like, Ashlyn, don't.
I made my boys watch a little bit of Beavis and Butthead, some old episodes, and they were like, "You thought this was funny?" And I'm like, "You don't?" And then the crap
have you scheduled appointments for each of them to be checked because it's hilarious.
But yet they're on these, like, they'll laugh at these stupid memes like, "Oh, this meme somebody sent me is so funny." I'm like, what is this?
Oh, and it totally
makes me want to throw up.
Dog wrapped in a blanket and be like, hot dog. Like, hey,
I feel like
you think's funny nowadays.
The things our kids are finding funny have set us back like 20 years.
Oh, I agree. I will say that the same thing's happening. Look, you know how I feel about Amanda.
Yes.
I love that woman more than anything on this earth. But it's weird the things that she thinks is funny, and she's now sending these videos through like a direct message system. And I pull it up and I'm watching the video. I'm like, I don't.
Because normally when you get
I think this is funny.
When you get a video from a direct message from Amanda, you get pretty excited.
Yeah, well, it's like, oh, maybe this is some important instructions.
Yeah.
And so I do.
It's like Lincoln, Nebraska, all over again.
But it ends up being some stupid video, and I'm like, and then she's like, you didn't think that's funny? And then I'm like, no. In fact, it was a waste of time.
Yeah. I'm not getting those 30 seconds of my life back.
These videos pull you in, and I have found that they are the biggest waste of time in the history of mankind.
Yes, I agree.
And I don't know what to do about it.
Yeah.
And they're addicting.
And it's not just screenagers anymore. It's grown adults.
Grown adults. Shame on all of you.
Sitting there consuming the dumbest videos that you could ever imagine. Yeah. And then you're going to watch Beavis and Butthead and tell me you had a problem with that?
Exactly.
At least they played music videos that had substance. It was the first time I was introduced to Henry Rollins was through Beavis and Butthead.
Nice. All right, Steve Bartle, he's not quite on staff yet. August 1st he will be, but he is kind enough to join us. Our soon-to-be Ute insider for KSL Sports and KSLSports.com will join us next, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're locked on to Hans Olsen and Scotty Chin. That's right, yeah! On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, he's not quite official as of yet. He's Twitter official, but he does not begin until August 1st. We've been told August 1st is the official date of Steve Bartle on the KSL Sports staff. So until then, we can't say he's officially part of the group yet, but he will be.
He's there.
Give it a few days. He might as well be. Steve Bartle, kind enough to join us, soon to be Ute insider at KSL Sports and KSLSports.com. Steve, how are you?
What's up, Super Steve?
Man, I am chomping at the bit to officially add the KSL Sports to the bio on Twitter and other places, man. I'm fired up to be joining the team and can't wait till the 1st, man.
Love to hear it, man. I'd gotten word that this was a possibility a few weeks ago, and I was thinking, man, if you get a chance to get Steve Bartle to talk Utah football and provide that kind of coverage and insight, especially on the recruiting front,
you go get Steve.
You go get Steve, because I think you're well known as the authority, especially on the recruiting front. Just kind of give us, people are unaware of you and your background and what you've built and the reputation on how you did it. Kind of give us the background on how you came to be where you're at right now, where you got KSL falling all over themselves trying to get you on part of the team.
Man, it's this whole week has been this whole process really has been a little surreal, and it's been really cool for me specifically. So, and I got an opportunity about 8 years ago to add to essentially just go up to spring practice and create threads on a message board and just update subscribers as to what was going on at practice. That's how I got my start, with the Ute Sports Report. And, from there, man, it's really, I'm just a story of hard work, man. Like that's what I tell people. Like I didn't really know anybody. I didn't have connections. I just got my foot in the door and I just worked my way, into where I am now. So, that's the gist of it, but it's been quite the journey for me. So I got my foot in the door doing those spring practice reports and then, started to add recruiting, to my profile and doing an article once or two a week at the Ute Sports Report. And then, Dan Sorensen at Ute Zone and the Ute Sports Report under Brian Swinney, the two sites merged later that year. So I got my start in 2016. Later that summer, the two sites merged and Dan Sorensen kept me on and brought over his staff from Ute Zone, from Rivals, and brought it over to Scout at the time. And, from there, I just continued to work and continued to add different things in season, game analysis and that sort of stuff. I just continued to work and continued to learn. I did, a semester with the NFL Scout Academy, which provided me an opportunity to learn how to evaluate and scout, football players at different positions and get a unique perspective from former NFL scouts and personnel and those types of people. And so that's just been my mentality, man, is just constantly learn and constantly work. And, fortunately, that's got me to where I am now, where I've been at Utes Zone fully employed, full-time, employed as a full-time employee. I'm trying to fumble over my words here, but, that I was hired on full-time at Utes Zone 2019, which was just an incredible accomplishment. We went from 200 subscribers when I started there to, over 1,000 in 3 years, and was able to be hired on full time. And that was 2019. And then from there, just continued to do my thing and work. And that's just what I've been about. And that's brought on a lot of good relationships over the years that have been, that have helped me in my journey and in my, work. And, seeing a lot of text messages from people yesterday, was really, really cool. A lot of coaches, from within the state, from out of the state. I got a call this morning from one coach in particular at 6:15 in the morning. Luckily, I was on my way to the golf course and wasn't in bed. So, it's just been really cool. And I'm super appreciative of Nate and his pursuit of me, with KSL Sports. And I'm, like I said, man, I'm just fired up to continue learning, continue working, and continue to make this thing, go at KSL Sports.
It's been interesting, Steve, is going through this recruiting process with my son, Rock, and seeing you at these different events and seeing how much you have to do with the kind of the high school recruiting scene here in the state. I didn't realize how much work you did on that scene. How important is that to you? Will you keep that up? Because I think you're fantastic at it. I heard you actually speak to the high schoolers, and I thought, you know what, man, this guy really knows his stuff, and those high schoolers were hanging on every word. So I'm just curious, will you really stay involved in the recruiting scene as you take on this new role?
Yeah, that's absolutely my goal, man. It's one of the things about this job that really is, it's fun, getting out to those camps and, watching these guys compete, and then getting to chat with them afterwards, whether it's, in that group setting or it's one-on-one, talking to them about the recruitment and what's going on with them. And, those getting out to those camps and seeing, a guy like Will Snowden and those guys that put on these camps, the work that they put into it, it's a lot of fun to me to get out there to see that. And, for these kids that are putting in the work, right? A lot of them are focused on the star ratings, and my whole message to them is you can't worry about that. You got to take care of what's most important. And that's, first your body, your academics obviously is huge when we're talking about getting into college. And the rest will follow, so that's always been the message. The star rating doesn't come first. That's a product of all that work and all of that afterwards, right? That comes after all of that. So, yeah, dude, even with the change from 24/7 Sports to KSL Sports, I'm still going to be at those camps, still going to get out because, it is just a great setting, to assess these kids, to talk to these kids, and to interact and to network, throughout the community and get a feel for what's going on, in the state and even out of state. Yeah, man, that's definitely going to be something that I bring to KSL Sports. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to work with Mitch, who's also been, involved in the recruiting scene, Mitch Harper and Cole Bagley, who's joining for the hockey beat, but he was with us at Utes Zone for a time and excited to work with him as well. And so, I'm excited to add recruiting to the KSL Sports profile and just, continue to promote these kids and get their names out there and promote them and just get them that that exposure that they need to get these colleges, more interested in them.
How much over the time that you covered recruiting here in the state of Utah, I go back a long ways. I'm going to date myself a little bit here, but Steve Tate told me when he got recruited at the University of Utah. Now, obviously, his son is now at Stanford, so it shows you how long ago that was. But he was one of 3 players from the state of Utah that got a Division I offer. Now it's crazy how many guys are getting Division I offers. Just how much is it the talent overall that's improved here in the state of Utah? Is it the coaching that's developed the talent that's improved? Why all of a sudden is Utah becoming a hotbed for college football recruits where everybody in the country is coming in trying to pilfer these kids?
It's all of the above, Scott. It is, it's the growth of the state in terms of the population. It's the coaching that these guys get, in the high school, from their high school coaches, the teams, the programs and high school programs that they're in, do such a great job with these kids. But then too, what we're starting to see now is you're starting to see more of these individualized trainers, right? Ross Alpo does a great job, with skilled players. Protect Trenches, does a great job with defensive linemen. OFA Academy does, a great job with offensive linemen as well. So you're starting to see just more and more, access to good quality coaching, good quality training. And that's really upped the quality of football being played here in the state. It's amazing to think, so I started, in 2016, and, that year I think there was Porter Gustin, coming out of the state. Shortly after him, there was Jay Tufele in 2018, coming out of Bingham. There were just a select few guys each and every year where, really kind of spoke to the quality of football being played here. But now you look at the number of kids that are getting D1 offers, and the list is 40, 50 players deep now. It's just been amazing to see the growth. And I think another aspect of this is just the access that other college programs have to the state now, with Utah having been in the Pac-12 and BYU now in the Big 12, and both of them now in the Big 12. Just having those other programs that are going to be in this state, as often as they are, they've started to evaluate Utah too, which has increased the opportunities for a lot of these kids as well. So, it's a lot that goes into it, but it starts with, the kids, the talent level that they possess themselves, the high school coaches and the way that they train these kids and coach these kids up, the training that is available to them now, the specialized training that they have, and then just the access to the state now is just at an all-time high, and it's going to continue, right? You look at this class 2025, one of the best class we've seen in terms of just the overall talent. There's a 5-star kid, Jerome Miles, out of Corner Canyon, who's, he's added Ohio State offer, an LSU offer. Just this week alone, you've got Aaron Dunn in Spanish Fort, Darius Afalava. All of these guys have a ton of Power 4 interest. And then you look ahead to 2026, there are 4 kids ranked in the top 100 next year alone. And it's just the talent continues to improve each and every year. And just when you think this is the best it's ever been, you look ahead to the following year and it's like, man, this is going to be really, really good next year too. So it's just on the rise, and it's going to continue to rise.
So, Steve, who's going to win the high school state championship, and why will it be Lehigh?
Man, I tell you, man, he's that Lehigh program, man. They've got talent. They've got a lot of talent, and obviously, your son doing what he does, in the trenches there, man. They'll be good. Lehigh will be good, man.
What are some of the high school storylines you're looking forward to this upcoming season?
Man, I tell you, it's going to be a lot of fun getting into the high school ranks and seeing what's going to unfold with Corner Canyon, and the post Isaac Wilson era, right? What he did there with Jerome Miles, coming off of the injury last year, what does he look like, right? As a 5-star prospect, what's he going to look like this year with Helaman Kasuga, who's, the 2026 quarterback there now. And, I'm excited about that. Aaron Dunn, at Spanish Fork, is he able to elevate his game to an elite level, at that offensive tackle spot and help his Spanish Fork team to a little bit more success? Skyridge with, the talent that they have there on both sides of the ball, the coaching that they have there, really excited about the overall talent. I'm excited to get up to West to see just the talent that they have in the trenches up there. They've got a number of guys that are getting interest that are either committed to, Power 4 programs or have offers from Power 4 programs. I'm excited to see a lot of these individuals in the state. Carson Kafusi at Skyline, to see his development, from the offensive line to the defensive line as he makes that transition. There's a lot of individual storylines that I'm following. The team aspect is going to be a lot of fun. Seeing the teams that are truly competitive this season, it's going to be a lot of fun to dive into those teams and to get to know them better as we approach the season, and see who's going to come out on top this year.
So how many more years does Kyle Whitting have left, in your opinion, Steve?
The change from, taking it year by year to day by day was pretty noticeable at media days, in terms of just his approach to all of this. And I think, this is, we're getting close to the end for Kyle Whittingham. And I think, the head coach in the waiting tag for Morgan Scally was something that's been finalized since November. And this has been something that it was good to see it formally announced. It should have been announced a lot sooner. But for Kyle Whittingham, when you look at where he's at, entering his 20th year, at Utah as the head coach, just what he's accomplished with the team that he has this year, the opportunity that they have going into the Big 12, being picked number 1 preseason, in the Big 12 conference, and what that means if you do win, your conference, you're going to the college football playoff, and you think of all that Kyle Whittingham has accomplished in his career, with taking over for the Fiesta Bowl in 2004, winning the Sugar Bowl, beating Alabama, making the transition to the Power 5 level as they made that transition to the Pac-12, winning the conference, climbing the mountain in the Pac-12, and then winning the conference, breaking through in 2021, getting to the Rose Bowl 2 years in a row, getting to the college football playoff would be a great way to end your career. And I think that's certainly on the table for Kyle Whittingham. And at the same time, when you talk to him, he talks about he still has a ton of energy for the job, and he's energized. And I think having Morgan Scally in place as the next man in line for him, I think has also helped him kind of take some of the load off of his shoulders. I think that's important. So, there's a good possibility he stays another year. But I do think we're much closer than previously thought. I think, if all goes well this year, this could be it for Kyle Whittingham.
Steve Bartle joining us, soon to be KSL Sports Ute Insider. KSL Sports and KSLSports.com will be a regular fixture on the show and all the shows here on the Zone. But Steve, before we let you go, the one thing that University of Utah seemed poised to have a really special season last year, and then injuries just wrecked this team. And I asked Kyle Whittingham about this at Big 12 Media Day because, Kyle's, and I say this in a nice way, he's a control freak, and he wants to know exactly what's going on in his program at all given times. Do you look at last year as just kind of a weird, freakish year where things went wrong, or do you think that there may have been some underlying factors there in terms of training or work in camp? Or because Kyle said we've looked at everything and we've altered a little bit on how we're going to handle camp going forward because we can't have happen what we had happen last year. How do you look at how that went down last year and if the Utes can avoid that going into this year? Yeah,
I do think there's a bit of both there, right? Where we are talking about there were some freak freak injuries, that occurred last year, but I do think there was a lot of wear and tear. And I think, a big part of what caused that was the fact that you had to be full go week one for the Florida Gators, right? Each of the past 2 seasons, right? So you can't ease your way into the season. You can't ramp up, over the course of fall camp. You've essentially got to be, pedal to the metal from day one in fall camp when you're preparing for a program like Florida. Seeing the size of that roster, knowing the talent that they have in the program there, you've got to be on point. So that was tough for Utah. But obviously they hit the ground running, they got the win. But ultimately, the last season resulted in roughly 150 games lost to injury from players that were in the 2 deep, to start the season. So, it just took a massive toll. And when you think of the need to be full go from the end of July until the end of November, that's a long time. Whereas this season, right, you don't necessarily have to be full go week one, right? You can not necessarily ease your way into things week one, but you can ease your way into things at a much better rate for these guys during fall camp. And I think that's going to be a key factor to all of this. I just think when you can kind of delay when you need to be full go, 100% go, and what that does for these guys, their bodies, it minimizes some of the wear and tear that these guys will go through throughout the season. So I think that's going to play a role this year. It's why I'm optimistic that the health will be better this year, because you aren't going, 100%, from July 31st to November 30th or whenever the season ends, right? You can have a proper ramp up to the season. And I think that's going to do wonders for this team and the health of the team, which is going to be important when you're talking about guys like Cam Rising and Brant Keithy, guys that missed time last year, other guys that missed time last year, and just having them healthy is going to be so important for Utah this year, because they're the key cogs. Everything depends on Cam, and to have him healthy is going to be imperative for their chances at the Big 12 title and more. So, yeah, I think it's a bit of both when you look at last year, and I think they understand that, and they've made the proper adjustments, and it'll be interesting to see how that actually impacts the season this year.
Well, Steve, can't thank you enough, man. Appreciate you hopping on with us. Welcome to the team. We look forward to chatting with you throughout the season and making this a regular occurrence. But enjoy your few days before August 1st, and then let's get to work, man.
I'm about it, man. I appreciate you guys so much. I'm excited to be on the team and excited to get to work, man. Like I said, I'm chomping at the bit.
And get ready to get next April a top 60 and 60 ballot, too.
You got it, man. I'll be hard at work this season putting that together.
Awesome. Cool, man. Thank you. There he is, Steve Bartle, Ute Insider, as of August 1st at KSL Sports and KSLSports.com. All right, coming up next, folks, it's another edition of Sports Roulette. We'll take some of the big storylines, put it on a roulette wheel, spin it, wherever that little ball lands, what we end up talking about. We'll do it next, right here on The Zone.
This is DJ and PK.
RSL head coach Pablo Mastroni.
For you, as you have messages to deliver to the team, is it more effective to use profanity to the team in English or Spanish?
The Spanish guys say I use a lot of profanity. Spanish was my first language. We moved to the States when I was 4. I grew up in a family of butchers, and we owned a butcher shop in Argentina, and it was all the guys working in the butcher shop. So I learned all the bad words, and I would always say it. The guys would laugh, and all the women in the family would always be like, this is ridiculous. It's so funny because I rarely use profanity in English, and the only time I ever use it is to really make a point of emphasis. But in Spanish, apparently, I use it all the time without even knowing, because that's the way I was raised.
I bleep and love it.
Catch DJ and PK mornings from 6 to 10 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is Sports Roulette with Hanson Scotty on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hey, make sure to nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nominations at kslsports.com/contest. Listen every Thursday afternoon, that is today, for JJ and Alex to announce the winner. Help them celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact. It's your Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules Credit Union. Boy, they're still putting the full court press on me to be a coach.
Well, go do it, man.
Hell no.
Go live your dream.
That's not my dream.
That's not my dream either.
That's my nightmare.
Yeah.
Coaching Little
time.
League tackle football.
It's a bad time.
Bad parents, angry parents.
I tried high school once.
Entitled kids.
I helped a little bit with Little League. A little bit.
Yeah, I remember that.
Wasn't what I'd hoped it would be.
Is that where Rock accused you of grunting?
That was his freshman year when he was on the sophomore team. And
Dad, you're making noises.
He told me not to come to practice. So I haven't been back. Can you stop? It's not funny.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
A little bit.
No, it's not funny.
I also, speaking of people with negative feedback, I sent out one little fun, we try to let people behind the curtain a little bit, in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, you and I, that's something that I think we both feel is pretty important.
Yeah.
Because, we want to normalize what we do and stuff. And so this morning I got up way early, couldn't go back to sleep, did the, got the early workout in and all that other stuff. And I was just dragging. And so hit a rock star at about 6 a.m.
One of the traditional no sugar golds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then had a appointment I had to be at 8 a.m. and was dragging a little bit after that. And so I knocked back another rock star.
Was it a no sugar traditional?
Oh, yeah,
gold?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
And
that's
then,
the white can with the gold trim.
Actually, that might have been a fruit punch one.
Okay. Oh, geez.
And then right before the show, I'm like, oh, man, I'm still kind of dragging. So I knocked back number 3, and I'm like, oh, this will be funny.
Was that the traditional?
That was the traditional one. And so I took a picture of it and sent it on Twitter. I'm like, hey, you know what?
What are we having here?
It's not important. And I said, it's going to be a hell of a day when you're already on number 3, and it's all right.
If you need it.
You don't want to hold that till 3.
What the hell?
Oh,
there we go.
Number 4.
Number 4.
Down the hatch.
That sounds real nice.
6 days worth of B12. Bam, getting you in your gut.
That's some Mormon coffee for you right there.
I'm telling you, doggone it. These stupid drinks.
Man, they taste good though.
They taste good,
and they make me feel good for a moment.
They feel good.
Then the crash hits.
Yeah, but there's some that don't. Okay, there's some out there, and I'm just because I want to go to a couple of brands.
Yeah.
Because they are harsh.
Oh, yeah. There's one in particular that really messes me up. Now, you mentioned this one kind of you struggle with a little bit.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
But there is no.
It's a local one.
There is one brand that actually sits really nice on my stomach and makes me feel really good and warm inside. And I don't crash on it.
Yeah.
And I could drink 2 or 3 a day, and I'm like, this isn't normal. But see, I don't know. I think it hits some people differently.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
So I'm such an extreme attention deficit with some levels of hyperactive issues that when I chug 2 monsters, I can chug 2 monsters at 9 p.m. and I will be asleep by 10:30.
Oh, same.
Sound asleep.
Yeah.
Some people will drink monsters and it just rocks them up. They get all amped up. For me, I'll drink a monster right before a broadcast, like calling a game.
Yeah.
Because it allows my mind to think more clear and more smooth, and it allows me to focus. It's really weird how these things, and they feel so good. Now, rock stars don't feel good on my gut, but the ones that I drink feel so good on my gut.
Yeah. And I know. And I'm getting all the negative people like, hey, think about your heart. What's going on? I'm like, mind your own business. But I guess that's me.
I've got energy to attend to.
I threw it out there. Look, I'm trying to do a show for you guys. All right, let's get to it. Sports Roulette. Lloyd, fire up that wheel.
Time for me to camp outside the Colts facility.
Okay, so Scotty, this is a crazy story. He's a punter from Middle Tennessee State. His name's Kyle Ulbrich, and he was a world-class punter in his senior year. He punted 224 times in his career as a Blue Raider.
Yeah.
224 times.
You saw that film on Middle Tennessee that one year.
Yeah, I hate Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
Terrible. 67 of the 224 went 50 yards plus.
Woo!
73 of his 224 inside the 20-yard line. He's a good punter.
Yeah.
Averaged over 48 yards a punt.
Well, maybe number 4 was a bad idea. Oof.
Is that hitting different?
That's hitting different.
That slaps different?
Yeah.
Is it got Riz?
Slaps different. Will you shut up?
It's definitely not lit.
Was it gas?
It's definitely not fire right now. Sorry, keep going.
What's your problem, Lloyd?
Nothing.
You can't hang with the verbiage?
No, it's fine. It's
no
great.
cap.
Oh, cap. Cap, no cap.
I'm capping right now.
Yeah, but not with a lot of Riz. But you are doing too much.
I've got nothing but Riz.
You're
kidding
doing
me?
too much. Anyways, so Kyle Ulbrich doesn't get a whiff from an NFL team.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, screw this. He's sitting there talking to his girlfriend, and his girlfriend's like, I'll write you up some banners, and you just go over to the Dolphins practice facility and just stand there and tell them you want to play for them. He's like, that's a dumb idea. So he calls his buddies. He's like, hey, she's saying this. And they're like, that's a good idea, dude. Like, just go to the facility and tell them you want to play for them.
Yeah.
So
like Willie Mays Hayes from Major League.
Scott, his girlfriend writes up a bunch of banners on these big poster boards of like, I kicked this many games and this many punts, and then some funny sayings like, you know, punters win games and stuff, stupid stuff like that. And he is currently camped, an encampment outside of the Miami Dolphins practice facility. So personnel showed up yesterday and they were like, you got to move. You're too close to the facility. So he sent out this apology. He's like, I didn't mean to be where I wasn't supposed to be, but I'm going to stay camped here until you tell me, no, we're not going to let you try out.
Just give the man a shot.
Why not?
This sounds like Willie Mays Hayes from Major League.
Were you on the phone?
I was.
He just said it.
Dang it.
Mark it.
Mark it. You double audioed.
We haven't had one of those since I Britton Covied. I Britton Covied hard, too. That was a bad one. But look, how long?
You got to cut that audio up.
I will.
But how long ago was that?
That was a long time ago. I've done double audio since then. I think you've gotten me on one.
Yeah,
that was a bad one.
That was a really bad one. But you know who I was thinking when I was reading this story? I was thinking about Willie Mays Hayes.
It's all good.
So
play like Mays, run like Hayes.
So this guy,
is he going to get a shot?
Is going to camp out until they make a decision.
Just let him go, man.
So
bring him in for an afternoon. Let him punt.
I think this is going to work.
I hope so.
They're going to bring him in and say, all right, fine, put your foot on a ball. Let's see it.
Here's the problem. If it does work, you're going to have every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there camping out.
Well, and that's why I said I might have to go camp out with the Colts because I need 3 games so I could get my stinking pension.
All right. Willie Mays Hayes in there. Let's spin that
He's
wheel.
Sleeping in his car, by the way. He doesn't have any money. He's broke.
That poor dude.
For the first time in a decade, there's a new number one.
All right, Hans. Completely unsports related, but I thought you'd like this. Mm-hmm. Every year, USA Today, one of their biggest issues, because nobody really reads the newspaper anymore. So one of their biggest stories of the year, they have a reader's choice for the top 10 best fast food restaurants in the United States. Mm-hmm. For 10 consecutive years, the number one rank fast food joint has been Chick-fil-A.
The number one?
Number one for 10 straight years. For the first time in a decade, they have fallen off that top spot. They are now number 3. So I'm going to start at number 10, and work our way down, okay? Number 10, now this is fast food, okay?
Yeah.
Number 10 is Arby's. Number 9, Zaxby's. Popeyes comes in at number 8. Taco Bell is at number 7. A place called Captain D's comes in at number 6.
It's Lloyd's favorite place.
I've never heard of Captain D's. Apparently, it's a
seafood joint.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Like a Long John Silver.
It's pretty good.
We'll give it away. The captain.
Yep.
No, the D's, Lloyd.
Number 5 is, and I didn't know this place existed. Still, I thought Hardee's. Remember when Karl Malone had a Hardee's? I guess they're still back.
I didn't even know.
They're back east. I guess they're Carl's Jr. in the west and Hardee's in the east.
So there used to be one in Provo. Oh, there was a Hardee's in Provo.
Oh, yeah. Okay, here we go. Now you got.
I liked a good Hardy back in the day.
Oh, I did too. I loved Hardee's. Yeah. Number 4 is In-N-Out. Number 3 is Chick-fil-A. Number 2, you want to take a guess?
McDonald's.
McDonald's did not make the top 10.
Burger King.
Nope. KFC comes in at number 2. Why are you hating on KFC?
Nobody is hating.
Come on.
Nobody's hating. I just don't see that.
We love you.
Yeah. You ready for number 1?
Yeah.
Take a guess. You guys get one guess.
You didn't say
Carl's
Del
Jr.
Taco.
Carl's Jr.
Del Taco, number 1.
What?
Del Taco comes in at number 1.
You got to be kidding me.
No.
I guess that.
Give me a double Del.
Double Del Burger for the win. I'm telling you, that burger probably put it over the top. If you've not had one of their burgers,
I think there was
surprisingly good.
Big 12 Media Day that somebody took and it might have been Dillingham, that somebody gave him a double Del.
Yeah.
And they did some little.
Oh, yeah. I saw that. It was
that.
It was Dillingham.
It was, right? And he loved the double Del.
Well, Scotty, Lloyd, I don't know about you guys. It always does me right.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I would say fast food wise, and I think all three of us have really cut out the fast food.
Yeah.
For the most part. So I haven't done fast food in probably 4 months.
Yeah, it breaks my heart a little bit.
It does.
I do miss the post-show sneak away to a...
If you were to take a 10-year average of my life, Del Taco's probably number 1. In my frequencies.
Yeah, I would either be that or Mickey D's for me. And just because there's the sheer number of McDonald's and the convenience of them.
Yeah, but I do love their flavors. I do. I still like McDonald's. It still
I do
hits
too.
Me right.
I will never hate on Mickey D's.
No Wendy's.
They're still always jam-packed.
I don't. You know what?
One.
Don't like Wendy's.
Wendy's, Burger King, and McDonald's all snuffed from the top 10.
I will say Wendy's breakfast, underrated.
I've heard that. I've not had any breakfast from Wendy's.
They're pretty good.
You know, Hans and I had a conversation this morning, Lloyd, as to whether the show has become less fun since he and I have been trying to drop LBs.
Yeah.
And we're afraid that may be the case.
Yeah.
I don't even want to know your opinion on this.
I don't have an opinion on this.
You do have an opinion
I don't.
on this.
I feel it. And Lloyd, don't act like you haven't been trying to eat right. We see you coming in with your handmade meals.
I've
done that forever.
I did Philly cheese sandwiches on the flat top yesterday.
Oh, dude.
And I used to get butter up the buns and all that stuff. And I had my own little pile where I had like the shaved meat and didn't put any cheese on it and had the onions and the mushrooms and didn't use any bread. And I'm like, what am I doing?
And then you offered me one, and then I'm like,
I texted Hans. I'm like, hey, I got a bunch of bread. I got a bunch of all this stuff, and I'm like, you want me to bring you in one? And you're like, no.
You know what I stumbled upon in my memories on my phone, picture-wise? The lemonade challenge.
Oh, well, that was rough. So one of these days, Hans and I will fall off the wagon, and we'll be back. Just hang in there with us. It'll be all right.
Oh, but I'm enjoying being a little lighter.
Yeah, I am too.
I did a 5-mile run, averaged close to a 9-minute mile.
I set a PR this morning on the Peloton.
So look at us.
45 minutes output, highest output I've had since I've had that bike.
So happy for you and your Peloton.
Why are you coming after me? You got 9-minute mile over here.
Oh, the Peloton in our face. It's it's a power move. I wish I had one.
I was on a trash. Like you have to run to make that
Physically
treadmill run.
Oh, it's like a Flintstone thing. Yeah.
If I'm not running, the treadmill ain't running.
All right, Hans and Scotty will wrap this bad boy up next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
3, 2, 1. It's the 10th annual Top 60 and 60. Get your college football fix every day at 1:30 as the Zone counts you down to the start of the 2024 season by listing off the top 60 players in the state of Utah as voted on by the local media and you, the fans. You'll also hear from the coaches as they talk about the players that will impact their season the most. It's the Top 60 and 60, weekdays at 1:30, presented by 5 Star Painting on your home of the best college football coverage in Utah. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Standing here beside you, want so much to give you this love in my heart that I'm feeling for you. Let them say we're crazy. I don't care about
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hey, your life moves fast. Quantum Fiber Internet is even faster. Move up to tomorrow's speed today. QuantumFiber.com. That's QuantumFiber.com. Hey, Lloyd, I got the contract here from our friends over at the Raiders. They want us to sign up again. We doing that? Your exclusive home of the Las Vegas Raiders. All right. I'll send it over to you. It's you and Nate. You and Nate can make that call. All right, fun show today. JJ and Alex coming up next. Hans.
It's a fun show today. It's going to be even more fun tomorrow. And as we start to get into the top 25 of our 60 and 60, things really heat up.
Yeah.
Our top 25 is going to cause a lot of stir because there's some interesting parts to it.
To say the least.
Oh, did we figure out what we're doing with Blake Anderson?
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Not quite.
Because you were thinking about just playing
it. Yeah, probably playing it after we make the announcement.
He does give us great insight into these guys.
Yep.
Got to have it.
All right, that wraps it up for us. JJ and Alex next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.